Commander Victoria Shaw won, completely, decisively, perfectly. She exposed the corruption, got her accusers convicted, was vindicated with full honors, received compensation, promotion, and public recognition as a hero who'd stood up against a broken system. She got everything she'd fought for during 7 years of bitter struggle. And in winning, she destroyed everything that had made victory worth having. Her marriage collapsed under the weight of her obsession with vindication. Her relationship with her daughter was irreparably damaged by years of neglect while she fought. Her passion for nursing died in the process of weaponizing her knowledge against her enemies. Her idealism corroded into cynicism through years of combat. She won the battle and lost herself, got the victory and found it hollow, achieved vindication, and discovered it meant nothing when you've sacrificed everything meaningful to obtain it. This is a story about poisoned victory, about getting exactly what you wanted and finding it toxic, about winning completely and losing everything that mattered, about discovering that some victories cost more than defeat would have. Commander Victoria Shaw was a respected ICU nurse at Naval Hospital Jacksonville. 20 years of excellent service, known for her clinical skills, her dedication to patients, and her mentorship of junior nurses. Then Captain Robert Nash accused her of stealing controlled substances, filed a formal complaint claiming he'd witnessed Victoria diverting medications and falsifying documentation to cover her tracks. Victoria was shocked. "That's completely false. I've never stolen anything. Why would Nash make these accusations?" The investigation found circumstantial evidence, medication discrepancies during Victoria's shifts, documentation timing that seemed suspicious, pharmacy records that could be interpreted as showing diversion. Nothing definitive, but enough for NCIS to bring charges: theft, diversion, and falsification of official documents. Victoria maintained her innocence. "Nash is lying. He's framing me. I don't know why, but he's fabricating this entire case." Her defense attorney was pessimistic. "The evidence is circumstantial but compelling. Unless you can prove Nash is lying, you're likely to be convicted based on the documentation discrepancies. So I have to prove a negative. Prove I didn't do something." Unfortunately, yes. The burden shifts once there's evidence suggesting guilt. You need to show the evidence is false or that Nash has a motive to frame you. Victoria couldn't prove either. She was convicted. 3 years confinement, dishonorable discharge, loss of rank and benefits. She entered prison furious and determined. "I'm innocent, and I'm going to prove it, and I'm going to destroy everyone who did this to me." That determination would consume the next 7 years of her life. Victoria spent her first year in prison investigating, used every resource available, filed FOIA requests, hired a private investigator, reached out to former colleagues. She found something interesting. Nash had accused another nurse 2 years before Victoria, Lieutenant Sarah Chen. Same accusations, same pattern of circumstantial evidence. Chen had been convicted, served 2 years, was released with a dishonorable discharge. Victoria contacted Chen. "I'm in prison for the same accusations Nash made against you. I think he's been framing nurses systematically. Will you help me investigate?" Chen was bitter. "I fought for 2 years. It destroyed my life. The Navy didn't care that I was innocent. Why would they care now? Because if Nash did this to both of us, he probably did it to others. We can prove a pattern. We can expose him." Chen hesitated. Then, "Okay, I'll help, but only because I want Nash to pay for what he did to me." They started investigating together, found 3 more nurses who'd been accused by Nash over a 6-year period. All had been convicted, all maintained their innocence, all showed the same pattern of circumstantial evidence that Victoria and Chen had faced. 5 nurses, all accused by Nash, all convicted, all claiming innocence. Victoria became obsessed, spent every waking hour investigating, stopped communicating with her husband except about the case, ignored her daughter's calls because they distracted from her work. Her husband, David, tried to reach her. "Victoria, I understand you need to fight this, but you're in prison for 2 more years. Our daughter needs you. I need you. This obsession is destroying our family. Our family will be fine once I prove I'm innocent and expose Nash. But at what cost? Emma is 13. She needs her mother. You barely talk to her anymore. She'll understand when I'm vindicated. This is for our family, for our future." But it wasn't for their family. It was for Victoria, for her need to win, to prove she was right, to destroy those who'd destroyed her. Victoria was released after serving 3 years, immediately threw herself full-time into investigating Nash. She found the breakthrough. Nash had a gambling problem, owed significant money to dangerous people, and had been stealing medications, himself then framing other nurses when audits showed discrepancies. Nash would steal, wait for pharmacy audits, then accuse the nurse whose shifts most closely correlated with the thefts, plant additional evidence if needed, get that nurse convicted, continue stealing while suspicion was diverted. 5 nurses convicted to cover Nash's thefts. Victoria documented everything, built a comprehensive case, presented it to the Navy IG. The IG investigated, confirmed Victoria's findings. Nash had indeed been framing nurses to cover his own theft operation. Nash was arrested and charged with theft, conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and making false official statements. But Victoria's marriage was collapsing. David filed for divorce during Nash's trial. "I can't do this anymore. You've been so consumed with this case that you forgot you had a family. Emma barely knows you anymore. You won your fight but lost us. I'm about to be vindicated. Everything I've done was to clear my name so we could have our life back. We don't have a life anymore. You sacrificed it for vindication, and now it's too late to get it back." Victoria tried to convince him to wait. "Just let me finish this. Once Nash is convicted and I'm exonerated, everything will be better." "Everything won't be better, because even if you win, you've become someone I don't recognize, someone who cares more about destroying an enemy than protecting her family." The divorce was finalized 3 months before Nash's trial concluded. Nash was convicted on all charges, sentenced to 15 years confinement, dishonorable discharge. The Navy issued formal apologies to all 5 nurses he'd framed. Victoria was completely exonerated, her conviction overturned, record cleared, rank restored. She received back pay for the years she'd been wrongly imprisoned, and she was promoted to captain in recognition of her dedication to exposing corruption. It was total victory. Everything she'd fought for, except her husband, was gone. Her daughter, now 16, barely spoke to her. "You chose your vendetta over us. Dad tried to make you see it, but you wouldn't listen. You won your case and lost your family." Victoria tried to rebuild. "Emma, I did this for us. To clear my name, to get our life back. You did this for yourself. And now you have your vindication. Congratulations. I hope it was worth it." Emma moved in permanently with David, refused Victoria's calls, spent holidays with her father's new family. Victoria had won, and lost everything that mattered. The Navy held a ceremony honoring Victoria and the other 4 nurses Nash had framed. Formal apologies, recognition of their courage, commendations for exposing corruption. Victoria stood on stage accepting her award, looked out at the audience, saw Sarah Chen sitting with her family, parents, siblings, children, saw the other 3 nurses surrounded by loved ones who'd supported them through their ordeals, saw her own seat empty. No David, no Emma, no one. She'd won more completely than the others, had been the driving force behind the investigation, had built the case that convicted Nash, had fought hardest and longest, and she was alone. After the ceremony, Chen approached her. "You did it, Victoria. You exposed Nash, got us all vindicated. Thank you. Was it worth it?" Victoria asked. "For you, I mean. Did vindication fix what was broken?" Chen thought about it. "It helped. But no, it didn't fix everything. The years I lost, I can't get those back. The relationships that were damaged, some of those couldn't be repaired." She paused. "But I didn't let it consume me. I fought, but I also lived. I stayed connected to my family. I maintained relationships. You let the fight become everything. I had to build a strong enough case. Did you convince yourself you had to, so you could justify the obsession?" Victoria had no answer. Victoria tried to return to nursing. Her rank was restored. Her record was cleared. She was eligible for any nursing position in the Navy, but she'd lost her passion for patient care. 7 years of investigating, fighting, building legal cases, testifying. She'd been operating as a detective and advocate, not a nurse. She tried working in the ICU again, found she couldn't connect with patients, couldn't find satisfaction in the work, couldn't remember why she'd loved nursing in the first place. "I used to care about patients," she told a colleague. "He used to find meaning in providing care. Now I just see systems and procedures and potential legal issues. The humanity is gone." Maybe you've been fighting for so long that you forgot how to just be present with people. Maybe, Victoria paused. Or maybe I killed that part of myself while fighting. Maybe you can't weaponize your nursing knowledge against enemies without poisoning your love for nursing itself. She retired after 6 months back in clinical practice. Couldn't do it anymore. The victory she'd won had cost her the career that had made the fight meaningful in the first place. Victoria retired from the Navy at age 27 years of service, but the last 7 had been consumed by fighting rather than nursing. She received full retirement benefits, had her back pay from the wrongful conviction, had compensation from the Navy for the injustice. Financially, she was more secure than she'd ever been, but she had no one to share it with, no purpose to direct it toward, no reason to enjoy it. She bought a house in Virginia, lived alone, spent her days doing nothing meaningful, reading, gardening, existing without purpose. David reached out once. "Victoria, I heard you retired. How are you doing?" "I'm fine, vindicated, compensated, living comfortably. Are you happy?" Victoria didn't answer immediately. "I won, David. I exposed Nash, got him convicted, got myself exonerated. That's what I fought for. I didn't ask if you won. I asked if you're happy. I don't know what happiness means anymore. I spent 7 years fighting. Now the fight's over, and I don't know what to do with myself. You could try rebuilding relationships. Emma is 19 now. Maybe she'd be open to reconnecting. She hates me. She thinks I chose vindication over family. Didn't you? I chose justice. I chose truth. I chose to clear my name so we could have a future. And now, do you have a future?" Victoria hung up. Couldn't answer that question. Victoria tried reaching out to her daughter. Emma was a sophomore in college, studying to become a teacher, thriving in life Victoria knew nothing about. Victoria sent an email. "Emma, I know we haven't spoken much since the trial. I'd like to try rebuilding our relationship. Could we meet for coffee?" Emma didn't respond for 3 weeks. Then, "Mom, I don't know what relationship there is to rebuild. You were absent from age 13 to 16, the years I needed you most. You chose your fight over being my mother. I understand why you felt you had to, but understanding doesn't erase the damage. I did it for us. To clear my name, too. You did it for yourself. To prove you were right. To destroy the people who wronged you. And those might be valid reasons, but they weren't about me or Dad. They were about your need for vindication. I'm sorry. I know I made mistakes. Can't we move forward?" "I'm moving forward. With my life, my relationships, my future. You're welcome to be part of it peripherally. But I can't pretend we have the mother-daughter bond we could have had if you'd been present during the years that mattered most." Victoria met Emma for coffee once. It was cordial, polite, distant. Emma talked about her classes, her boyfriend, her plans after graduation. Victoria listened and realized she didn't know her daughter at all, had missed the years when Emma transformed from child to adult, had sacrificed those years for vindication. They parted with promises to stay in touch, but both knew the relationship would remain superficial. The damage was permanent. Victoria contacted Sarah Chen, the other nurse Nash had framed, the one who'd helped Victoria investigate, but hadn't let it consume her. "Sarah, can I ask you something? How did you do it? How did you fight for vindication without destroying your life in the process?" Sarah thought about it. "I didn't make vindication my entire identity. Yes, I fought. I appealed my conviction. I helped you investigate, but I also stayed present for my children. One maintained my marriage. I kept working not as a nurse, but in other roles. I lived my life even while fighting the injustice." "But weren't you angry? Didn't you want to destroy Nash for what he did?" "Of course I was angry. Of course I wanted justice, but I also wanted to still be myself when justice came. I didn't want to become someone consumed by vengeance." Sarah paused. "Victoria, you won completely. You got Nash convicted. You got fully exonerated. You got recognition and promotion. But you sacrificed everything else to win that completely." "I had to build a strong enough case." "Did you though?" "I helped you investigate. I was part of building that case. But I didn't abandon my children to do it. I didn't ignore my husband. I didn't stop living." Sarah's voice was gentle but firm. "You chose to let the fight consume you. And now the fight's over and there's nothing left. So what do I do now?" "I don't know. Figure out who you are when you're not fighting. Find a purpose beyond vindication. Try to rebuild relationships if that's possible. But understand that some of what you destroyed can't be repaired." Victoria started seeing a therapist, Dr. Jennifer Martin specialized in helping people who'd experienced major life transitions. Commander Shaw, just Victoria. I'm retired, Victoria. Tell me what brought you here. I won. I fought for 7 years, exposed corruption, got convicted, criminals punished, got myself completely vindicated, and I'm miserable. Why do you think you're miserable? Because I sacrificed my marriage, my relationship with my daughter, my passion for my career, all for vindication, and now that I have it, I realize it wasn't worth what I paid. Dr. Martin listened as Victoria described the 7-year fight, the obsession, the neglect of family, the weaponization of her nursing knowledge that killed her love for nursing. Victoria, it sounds like you made vindication your singular purpose. Everything else became secondary. I had to win, but did you? Let's examine that. Sarah Chen helped you investigate. She was also framed by Nash. She also fought for vindication, but she didn't abandon her family or lose her sense of self. What was different? She didn't fight as hard as I did. She didn't pursue it as aggressively, or she maintained balance. She fought and lived. You fought instead of living. Dr. Martin paused. Victoria, I think you convinced yourself that total obsession was necessary for victory, but Sarah's involvement suggests you could have one while maintaining other aspects of your life. So I destroyed everything unnecessarily. I think you used the fight as a way to avoid dealing with other difficult emotions. Anger at being falsely accused, fear of being defined by the conviction, grief over lost time. Instead of processing those emotions, you channeled everything into destroying your enemy. And now he's destroyed, and I'm empty. Now you have to figure out who Victoria is when she's not fighting. What gives your life meaning beyond vindication? Victoria tried to find new purpose, volunteered with a legal advocacy group, helping wrongly convicted military personnel. But she found the work triggering, reminded her constantly of her own fight, and she approached each case with the same obsessive intensity that had destroyed her life. You need to step back, the program director told her. You're overwhelming our clients. They need support and guidance, not someone who wants to turn their cases into holy crusades. I'm trying to help them win. They need to win without destroying their lives in the process. You're modeling the opposite. Victoria quit, couldn't do advocacy work without becoming obsessive. She tried teaching, maybe she could train new nurses, but she couldn't connect with students, couldn't remember what it felt like to be passionate about nursing, couldn't inspire others when she'd lost her own inspiration. She tried writing a book about her experience, got 3 chapters in and realized she had nothing meaningful to say beyond I won, but lost everything that mattered. It was a cautionary tale, not an inspirational story. Everything she tried felt hollow, because she'd defined herself by the fight for so long that she didn't know who she was without it. 5 years after Nash's conviction, Victoria received a letter from him in prison. She almost threw it away, but curiosity won. Commander Shaw, it began. I know you have no reason to read this. I destroyed your life and the lives of 4 other innocent nurses. I framed you to cover my own crimes. I'm guilty of everything you exposed, but I'm writing because I've had time to think about what I did and why. I was desperate, drowning in gambling debt, stealing to pay what I owed, and when audits came close to exposing me, I panicked and framed others. I know this doesn't excuse what I did, but I want you to understand, my actions were about my desperation, not about you personally. You were just convenient targets. I've heard you achieved complete vindication, that you were promoted and honored. That's good. You deserved that after what I put you through. But I've also heard that the fight cost you your marriage and your relationship with your daughter, that you became so consumed with exposing me that you lost everything else. And I wonder, did I destroy your life twice? Once by framing you, and again by giving you an enemy to destroy at the cost of everything you loved. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm serving 15 years and I've earned every day of it. I'm just saying, I'm sorry for framing you, but I'm also sorry that destroying me seems to have destroyed you too. Respectfully, Robert Nash. Victoria read the letter 3 times, felt rage, then confusion, then a terrible recognition. Nash was right. He'd destroyed her twice, once with the false accusation, and again by giving her a target for 7 years of obsessive vengeance that consumed everything else. She'd won, but the victory had been poisoned by what she'd sacrificed to achieve it. Victoria was 10 years since Nash's conviction, 8 years since her retirement. She'd finally found some equilibrium, accepted that her relationship with Emma would never be what it could have been, accepted that her marriage was irretrievably over, accepted that she'd never feel passionate about nursing again. She'd found small purposes, volunteered at an animal shelter, took art classes, traveled occasionally, existed quietly. Emma got married, invited Victoria to the wedding. Victoria attended and watched her daughter celebrate, surrounded by David's family, the stepmother who'd been present through Emma's college years, step-siblings who'd become Emma's close friends, David's parents who'd been active grandparents. Victoria was seated in the back, introduced to guests as Emma's mother with no elaboration, not the hero who exposed corruption, not the nurse who was wrongfully convicted, just Emma's mother in the most minimal sense. Emma was kind but distant. "Thanks for coming, Mom. It means a lot that you're here." But Victoria could see the truth. Emma would have been just as happy if Victoria hadn't come. The relationship was obligatory, not meaningful. That night, in her hotel room, Victoria thought about the past 13 years, 3 years in prison fighting, for years out of prison obsessively investigating, 6 years since Vindication, trying to figure out who she was. She'd won completely. Nash was serving 15 years. Victoria had been exonerated, promoted, honored, compensated, and she'd lost her husband, lost her daughter, lost her career passion, lost herself. The victory was total and worthless, because what's the point of winning if you destroy everything that made winning worthwhile? Sarah Chen was giving a presentation at a naval medical conference about coping with wrongful accusation. Victoria attended. Sarah showed slides about maintaining balance while fighting injustice. "When I was falsely accused and convicted, I wanted to devote everything to fighting for vindication. But I had to ask myself, if I sacrifice my family, my health, my identity, what am I fighting for? Victory that leaves me empty." She showed photos, her children graduating, her husband supporting her through the appeals, her maintaining friendships, her working in non-nursing roles while fighting. "I fought for vindication, but I also lived my life. And when vindication came, I was still myself, still had relationships, still had purpose beyond the fight." Then Sarah showed a different slide. "I want to tell you about another nurse who was framed by the same person, Commander Victoria Shaw. She fought harder than anyone, built the case that exposed the corruption, got completely vindicated, promoted, honored. Victoria felt everyone's eyes turn to her in the audience. But Victoria made the fight her entire identity, sacrificed her marriage, lost relationship with her daughter, destroyed her passion for nursing, won everything and lost everything that made victory meaningful." Sarah's voice was gentle. "I tell you about Victoria not to shame her, but as a cautionary tale. She's here today. She's agreed to let me share her story because she wants others to learn from her experience. Victoria won more completely than I did, but I'm happier than she is, because I fought and lived. She fought instead of living." Sarah concluded, "When you're facing injustice, fight, but don't let the fight become your whole identity. Don't sacrifice everything that makes life worth living for the sake of victory, because poisoned victory is worse than honorable defeat." The presentation ended. People approached Victoria afterward. "Thank you for letting Sarah tell your story," one nurse said. "I'm fighting a wrongful accusation right now. Your experience helps me understand I need to maintain balance." Victoria nodded. "Learn from my mistakes. Win your fight, but don't become your fight, because victory without a life to return to isn't victory at all." She left the conference and drove home alone to her empty house. She'd won, and winning had destroyed her. That was her legacy, a cautionary tale, a warning to others, a reminder that some victories cost more than defeat would have. She'd gotten exactly what she fought for, and found it poisoned. That's the thing about poisoned victory. You don't realize it's toxic until after you've consumed it, and by then it's destroyed you from the inside.